Hi, my name's Mark, one of the pastors at Trillium. I don't think it's hard to get one's head around the idea that human beings are highly imitative. Just have to look around. That's how kids learn. Kids learn so much because they imitate their environment. They're like sponges. We all learn through imitation. The fact that my desires and wants in life are determined by you, that I imitate you in my wants and desires, and that you imitate me, should come as no surprise. The implication, though, of course, is that we end up often in life moving in the same direction. We're both going for the same thing, and sometimes that leads to rivalry. If the rivalry intensifies enough, it means we become obstacles to each other. I reach out to get what I want, and I already find your hand in the way. That can produce, frustration, sometimes conflict, even violence. Toronto Blue Jays are having a good season this year. They're one of 30 teams in Major League Baseball. 30 teams in rivalry with each other. And that also means that Toronto has 29 potential obstacles to overcome in order to win the championship. Why? Because there are 30 teams going for the same thing, the World Series champion. And that produces the rivalry, and the teams are set up to become obstacles to each other. There's only one team that can win the ultimate championship each year, and that means every other team becomes an obstacle to fulfilling the team's desire. This happens in all major league sports: NFL, the CFL, NHL, NBA, Premier Soccer leagues around the world. It happens even in kids' sports. Minor league baseball, happens in minor league hockey, ringette, soccer, whatever game you can think of, that's the case. It happens at the Olympics. All the events, there's only one gold medal. Everyone's going for the gold medal. Only one person can win it, and the players, the competitors, become obstacles to each other to getting that fulfillment, the desire to win the championship completed. I don't know if you remember the Tonya Harding, Nancy Kerrigan incident that happened back in 1994. Nancy Kerrigan and Tonya Harding were two top U.S. figure skaters, women figure skaters. And they've been in competition for a number of years to see who was best. Generally speaking, Nancy Kerrigan was just a teeny bit better than Tonya Harding. And in the 1994 U.S. Women's Figure Skating Championship, Harding made a decision. She organized for Nancy Kerrigan to be injured. She sent a couple of thugs in. They roughed her up a bit, damaged her leg. Nancy Kerrigan had to withdraw, and that meant that Tonya Harding could win the U.S. 1994 Women's Figure Skating Championship, become the number one U.S. women's figure skater. It's not hard to understand how this unfolded. Tonya Harding had been a deeply committed figure skater. She had worked so hard. She had put all that she had into it. She was an exceptionally good skater. There was just one problem. Nancy Kerrigan was the obstacle for Tonya Harding to win and fulfill her championship ambitions in life. And so eventually, what happened was that the obstacle had to be removed. That's what happened. The obstacle was removed. Nancy Kerrigan's leg was damaged. She was removed, and that allowed Tonya Harding to fulfill her desires in life. Unfortunately for her, quite quickly thereafter, it came out that this had happened, and eventually the evidence piled up, and Tonya Harding was banned permanently from competing in amateur figure skating around the world. As I say, I don't think it's hard to appreciate the motivation. When people become obstacles to us, sometimes we feel entitled to do what we need to do in order to remove the obstacle. This happens in our personal lives, it happens in our work lives, our sports lives, and in the lives of people around us as well. Let me ask you this. What would happen if God, the creator of the universe, became our rival? What would happen to us if God became our rival? Well, it would mean that God would become ultimately, likely, our obstacle in life. And that's exactly what happens in the story of Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve make God into their rival. They demote God from creator into a rival. See, because Adam and Eve want to become like God. They want to be God for their lives. And so they end up demoting God into a rival. And because God was a rival, God became an obstacle. And remember, obstacles need to be removed in one form or another. So they ate of the tree of the knowledge of of good and evil, they ate of the fruit, and in that act they fired God. They removed the obstacle of God. They got rid of God. And the Bible says that has huge implications for us, for them, and for us today. We're still living out the consequences of this. Now, we might not have direct understanding of that initial event when God was removed, but we're living it out in the lives of each other. See, we live in a world of rivalry and obstacle making. People become obstacles. Nations become obstacles to each other. Groups become obstacles to other groups. This leads to the intensification of rivalry that allows for violence and destruction in life. It's so easy for any of us to choose to make another person into an obstacle. I do it all the time, in the little micro moments of my life and in the big ones. Again, Jesus offers us the antidote: love. In fact, the whole point of the incarnation of Jesus as God into the world was to show to us that God is not our rival. God has never been in rivalry with us. God is not our rival. How far God was willing to go to show that to us? All the way to the cross. God dies to prove that there is no rivalry between God and humanity. And he calls on us who follow Christ to imitate Jesus, and showing that there is no rivalry between God and humanity by showing that there is no rivalry between us and our neighbor. There's no obstacle between us and our neighbor because we believe in the oneness of love that binds all things together.